I am Messa.
And I'm Haley.
False advertising. We're not actually masters of Spinjitzu, masters of
I don't think I was actually captured in that because I had my microphone muted on the thing. But whatever, you know what it is.
Brilliant.
There's a whole bunch of sounds, and all of a sudden, I'm Meso.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
right.
I mean, it might have.
Podjitsu.
What happened? Yeah, well, whatever. Might have. Okay, yeah, they couldn't hear me. That's fine.
All right. He's
I'll-
LJ. He's the sensei.
Yeah, I'm sensei. Dojo's open. Master's Podjitsu. You know the drill.
Woo!
Listen, it's a tiring morning.
I can tell. You sound like me on those podcasts everyone makes fun of me about.
No, it's like I got
Wakey.
sleep. It's more like the amount of sleep and waking up. It's like, what's a good analogy for this? Oh, gosh. I'm trying to think, but they're like, you guys don't get annoyed by people easily, I don't think.
Not really, no.
So, it won't apply.
Fair.
Oh, well.
Are you still sick? Are you better?
I mean, I'm a little sick. Just because, I'm still, like, a very, 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 very slight runny nose. I cough every now and then. But otherwise, I'm basically over it. Like, I'm going to go to sleep tonight. I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I'm going to be... It's done.
You heard it first from LJ. He's over it.
Yes, I am over it.
He's over it.
Nice.
What are you doing?
I'm just clicking.
I was like,
I don't understand. Okay. Anyway, before we begin, Rashi Lee Rock in the chat said it's 58 Fahrenheit here, cold like I like it, and that has inspired me to go check my thermometer.
oh, it's 58 there?
Oh, that sounds so nice. So over here, it is also a very nice 64 degrees Fahrenheit, and for our European listeners, that is 18 degrees Celsius.
I have the
It's
cold.
95 where I'm at.
What
It's
the
88
fudge?
here. The summer wave is still
95
strong
degrees.
on the
Feels
East
like
Coast.
102.
Yeah, summer has not left us over here, I'm afraid.
See what I mean? That sounds awful. Yeah, I apologize to anyone who does not like the coughing. I did get sick over the weekend. I don't know why. I don't know how. However, thankfully, it doesn't seem to be a long-lasting cold, of which I am quite susceptible to. So, in that instance, I am quite fortunate.
Nice.
So,
Good stuff.
speaking of fortunate, we are doing quite a large load of Ninjago episodes today. It's going to be more than usual. We tried to stick to 4. However, we are expanding to, get ready, 5.
Yeah.
Woo!
Our
Mind
current,
blown.
there is a bit of a disclaimer.
Yes.
That we should say.
There is additionally a disclaimer pertaining to the episodes and their release. So we have tried very hard with NinjagoCast to keep our discussions in sync with their airing, generally on TV. Sometimes they'll come out on the app, we see that as an official source, and we'll discuss the episodes thereby. Unfortunately, for the Ice chapter, we not only don't have a schedule for their release, but we don't have any inkling as to when we might have one, if at all. So we do not know when they're going to be airing on TV. We also don't know if they're going to be added to the app. So this causes a bit of a problem because the episodes are still airing somewhere. They're not in an English-speaking country, but they're airing in English. Just subtitled.
Yeah, airing in Malaysia.
Oh, okay. Are they? Great. So,
Malaysia, yeah.
that's currently the problem. They're
The cool thing
airing.
with the Fire chapter was even though they did release online before TV, we knew a concrete date. So we were just like, all right, we can wait for that. And they aired pretty much consistently with no breaks. The way it's looking right now, the earliest we would possibly even get these episodes is October. And then waiting the weeks for them to catch up to what's already been released. For this chapter, for reasons why we'll get into later, we don't really want to risk getting spoiled. by
Yeah.
stuff. So the reason we're doing 5 is to do a roundup on what's been released so far. We've been deliberately waiting in the hope that they would air on TV. When we realized they're not going to, well, we're catching up.
As of right now, I'm looking at the schedule. It goes only as far as Saturday, September 21st for Saturdays, and it is not showing Ninjago for that day at all.
Yeah.
So it will probably
Personally,
be
Prentice makes a good point. He says, I'm guessing October or later because winter and the ice chapter, but that's just a guess.
Probably.
Would not surprise me if they pushed it to November.
Yeah. Cartoon Network. Oh, it's a winter? We should probably just wait till it's winter instead of air them back to back.
I mean, it makes a twisted kind of sense if they weren't airing elsewhere because it is getting more mileage out of a massive season by dividing it up into roughly like 7 episodes of the old runtime, which is about what an old season used to be, give or take, and then splitting that between several months. It kind of makes sense if it wasn't for the fact they were airing elsewhere.
Yeah, like it's a good cliffhanger for when the fire chapter leaves off. We left off with Zane being gone. We don't exactly know where he went, so and so, and it's a really good was it cliffhanger?
Yeah.
So it would make sense, except other places or other countries aren't doing it that way. So.
Yeah.
So Haley, what's the mantra? Give us the mantra to chant on social media.
Yes. So we will let you all know via NinjagoCast or Twitter, or we'll let you all know once Cartoon Network has put it back on the schedule. But it is very important if you have cable, if you have a way to see it either on the app when it airs on Saturdays, whenever it does it, please watch it because your views really do matter. You want to show that we're actually watching the show, not just pirating it, because then the viewings will go down and who knows what will that do to Ninjago. So please, if you have the ability, give it a watch because I can tell you the quality is going to be worth it, seeing it in really, really good quality because the animation is outstanding. But it's always good to watch Ninjago again. So please, please, please watch it live. Hashtag watch Ninjago live 2019.
Bingo.
Yeah.
I will add on to that. I will make a breaking news video when we have an official air date for that in the US.
Cool.
Fair. It's important to remember the reason we stress this so much isn't simply to clear our moral palate. It really isn't. The reason we stress this so much is that no matter how much LEGO wants to advertise using the Ninjago TV show, that doesn't mean that Cartoon Network is going to be analogous to these desires. Because at the end of the day, the views don't matter to LEGO. They matter to Cartoon Network. And so if they aren't seeing the views, they're not going to fill the time slot with a show that they don't deem to be getting enough views.
I've never thought of it that way. That's probably the reason why.
If someone involved in the industry
works.
would finds that to be inaccurate, by all means, feel free to correct me. I don't claim to be an expert. That is my assessment. And as Magic in the Patreon chat says aptly, Zane voice actor Brent Miller has made a video discussing that. She's linked it. There's the URL in the video right there. So definitely go check that out.
Okay.
The cynical among us would be probably like, 'cause I've seen this as a refrain too. Why don't we just let Cartoon Network drop Ninjago so they can move it to Netflix or something, and finally be free of them? And it's like, on the one hand, I get why you would say something like that. You might not be too personally invested in keeping it on Cartoon Network, but if it was that easy to just jump ship from platforms, LEGO probably would have done it already. They have a good thing going. They have an infrastructure set up. Even if we feel like Cartoon Network disrespects Ninjago, it's their preferred broadcaster. It probably is not as simple as pick up and go to another network or service. There'd probably be an interruption in the quality of the show while negotiations were being made. None of us want that. So support the show while it is airing wherever. And if you want it elsewhere, send it to LEGO.
Yeah,
but
pretty much. So that's why we stress so highly that it's worth watching this live. We are... Obviously, we don't... What's the best way of wording this? We value not being spoiled enough to discuss it now. Which is why we're doing that. But of us who have access to the capability to watch it live, will be doing so. It's highly recommended. We just need to discuss these now before more episodes come out, and we are completely toasted.
It's the unfortunate reality of our circumstance, actually making discussion-based content.
Mhm.
If we wait too long, it's going to be irrelevant, or we'll have forgotten what we already watched and have to go back and like catch up, or we risk getting spoiled either on Twitter or YouTube or our discussion chat on Discord. And then, like, personally, people might say, "But Mezzo, you like spoilers. Why do you care if you get spoiled?" I like spoilers for personal things that I follow. I don't mind getting spoiled for discussion-based content where we're theorizing and discussing on an episodic, serialized basis. No, that actively harms the discussion value. So we have to be careful about that.
And this season, like this chapter especially, is full of mystery and theorizing, as you'll probably hear later on this episode. There's a lot of unanswered questions about what we've seen so far, and if we waited and got those questions answered, then when we review these episodes, it's more like this, which we find out what this means later. We don't know what that means, so we can enjoy theorizing and thinking about all the clues they've given us to come to to think about what's going to come in the future. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that in the following episodes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much that.
Yeah.
That's the disclaimer, that's our rationale, and that is our plea to you.
Yee. So LJ, what episodes are we discussing today?
So we're discussing 5 episodes. We're discussing episodes 16 to 20, which is, again, one extra than we usually do. Why are we doing one extra than we usually do again?
Because we're getting caught up to what's currently
well, one of them is a quote unquote filler episode.
Yes. Okay, fair enough.
But even if
I put huge quotation marks on that because it is a very
even if it wasn't a filler episode, though, we would still be doing 5 because, like I mentioned, we were waiting to see if they were going to air on the US. For some reason, there's an odd number out right now. I don't know why exactly, but we're basically cleansing our backlog, and the backlog just so happens to be 5. Whereas if we waited another month for another 2 to air, then that one would be outdated.
And the 20th episode is really good closure on a certain person's arc. So
yes.
All right, fair enough. In that case, let us delay no longer. All right, so we're going to start off with episode 16, The Never Realm. Ninja arrive in their new Arctic playground, and it's not a playground, it's actually very harsh. Is this the episode where the bounty bites it?
yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Immediately.
Okay.
And Cole's an idiot.
Great. There's no screenshot for that, so I wasn't sure. So, bounty bites it, falls off a cliff, and Cole, the genius that he is, leaves the traveler's tea in it. Not that it matters, but it's there.
No. I'm going to support my boy Cole because there's a big conversation about this. He picks it up and he jumps off to save himself and he drops it and he had a lot of other things going on. Literally to quote Cole.
All right.
Continue.
Yeah. Okay. So the ninja walk around. It's snowy. It looks like Idaho in December. They're walking around finding out where they are, and they find a bunch of peoplesicles. And then they find a bunch of wolves. And now starts my favorite segment of the episode. Let's beat up the animals. And the ninja proceed to do exactly that. I expect PETA protests later on this month. So eventually they find some folks. The folks are like, "Oh, hey, people." And the ninja are like, "Hey, people." So they go to their village. They meet with a gal who has a fire. It's nice, warm, friendly fire. She throws some stuff in the fire, turns green, and it shows them where Zane might be. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs! He actually might be in the very evil big bad realm, or the big bad palace, castle, whatever place. And the ninja are like, "We'll go find him." And the lady's like, "No, you won't." And the ninja are like, "Yeah, we will." Cut to the evil big bad castle place, and we find a general and the Ice Emperor. We don't know who the Ice Emperor is. All we know is that he has been tormenting the whole thing like it's a Christmas special, freezing all sorts of stuff, and being generally evil. And speaking of generally, the general is there going, "What do you want? Hey, we got some weird people here." And Ice Emperor's like, "Do your thing." And that's the end of the episode.
Woo! We're in a new realm, everybody.
We are. It's very icy.
Check one off the 16 realms or Never Realm.
How many more realms have we not seen?
I believe we have 5 left.
Yeah, I was actually discussing this a while back. I was making a counter Currently, we have been to Chima, the Cloud Kingdom, Ninjago, the First Realm, Jinjago, the Cursed Realm, the Never Realm, the Departed Realm, and the Underworld. So currently we're at 9. We have 7 remaining.
Alright, there's still room for a Bionicle Realm. Come on, bring it
There
on!
is still. There's a big question mark on the place where Lloyd went in March of the Oni with FSM, if that counts as a realm or not. But that could count as a realm, but I don't know.
I'll be
I always
honest,
figured that was the Departed Realm.
I kind of entirely forgot that happened.
Yeah.
I forgot that happened too.
No, I just kind of presumed. I presumed it was the Departed Realm because I think it matches the description of the Departed Realm that Tommy has given elsewhere.
Yep, okay, probably. Whew, Dark Takanuma said the place where Lloyd went was Minecraft. Do you like my dragon?
Goodness.
I love it.
But all right, so we're in the Never Realm.
It's very icy. It's very cold.
Icy. People were frozen solid.
Peoplesicles. They were alive, but they were frozen.
Yes.
So
I think their eyes were glowing blue. I think.
Let me check the picture really quickly.
But
yeah, it does seem to appear that the eyes are blue.
All right.
So that's an interesting detail I didn't recall.
Yeah, and I figure what DT says, they're being converted into ice soldiers.
Yeah.
Probably what I would imagine, the ice corrupting them.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's something in a future episode we're definitely going to talk about.
Oh yeah.
But,
this episode,
we get to the village and we meet Sorla, who is the village elder, who sounds like Winua from Biocraft.
Oh, well, no, okay. I'm sorry. Did you say Wenua?
Winua.
Wenua. Okay, no. No, does not sound like Wenua at all. Sounds like...
Oh, yeah, she does. She got a little accent going, too.
Sounds honestly a little closer, because all the villagers have a very distinct way of speaking, which is it's great. But the way that it sounds to me, it sounds like... So, for anyone unfamiliar with us, we start off as a Bionicle channel. We all are very... very well versed with Bionicle. Back in 2003, LEGO released a film called Bionicle Mask of Light. There's a character in that called Liwa. He's the Toe of Air. And he speaks, I swear to you, he speaks almost like this. Exactly. Like, ha, walk, not never. When you're with me, there'll be no foot walking, just air flying. And every single character sounds just slightly like that. Just a little. But I don't know about Winua. So that I find that very amusing. But they're all they're cool. They're fine. They're obviously in the realm. We have no idea how they got there yet. So,
as Tommy mentions in the YouTube chat, by the way, thank you for joining us. It's
Hello.
the additionally the realm of madness, which is where Garmadon got his 4 arms.
Oh yeah,
So
I forgot
10.
about that.
There's 6 remaining.
All right. Well, that's pretty close to 5, so fair enough.
Yeah.
This was a pretty good establishing episode in that it kind of set up the basics of the world. We didn't really see many of the ice troops and soldiers, but we did hear about their presence, and we saw the Emperor and his General Vex at the end. So Destiny represent in Ninjago. Props. And it's a cool premise. The fact of this world basically being, ravaged by ice. There's an emperor who looks like he's being puppeteered by his servant. Like, Vex is clearly pulling the strings. He's a manipulator. And if some theories are correct, that will make sense. Do we want to talk about those theories or wait till...
I think we should talk about those theories. Or should we wait? Because
I think...
Context
this is the only time we really talk about this guy, or like this is the first time we meet him.
This is the first time we meet him, but I feel like let's go through a couple more episodes to build the case a little better.
Okay,
yeah, we still have evidence later on.
All right.
So for now, this episode by itself was fine. It was a startup. It introduced the aesthetic, and primarily just that, but it did it really good.
The village looks really great.
Yeah. And then fighting wolves was very entertaining. For like a big part
That
of
was a
it.
fight I never thought I would see in Ninjago. Ninja versus wolves.
Yeah, honestly, that
Which
kind of
makes me happy, of course, because for obvious reasons. But
I can't imagine why. No, they beat up the wolves.
wow. Well, eventually, something else happens, but we'll get there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
fair
this
enough.
episode, there's not really a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not a whole
I'm
lot
trying
to
think of what else.
discuss, but it's a very good.
Yeah.
There's a phrase for it. It sets the stage.
Yeah, they also there was one more thing. They introduce and then follow it up in a later episode that Nia's having trouble with her powers.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes,
She can't use her powers, which means we have 2 nerfed ninja as of this episode.
yes. They just so happen to be related.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's cool. If maybe their powers are linked in that way. Yeah, probably not.
no.
One loses
They've
their power, other one
established
kinda
the
struggles.
the reasons as to why their powers aren't working are very different. They just
Nia
so
can't
happen.
do it 'cause the more
Yeah, we'll get into it. It's actually like the very next episode. I think that's
Next
touched on further.
episode.
yeah, that was that episode.
Okay.
Great introduction to Neverwhere.
Next episode, episode 17, Fire Maker. So episode starts off, we've got some folks and they're getting some fish, they're walking around, chatting, having a good time, and all of a sudden they either hear or see an oncoming ice army. So they skedaddle. They're on their way back. Lloyd is talking to, oh gosh, what's her name again? I can't remember.
Sorla.
Sorla, thank you. Talking to Sorla, they're having a conversation. Lloyd goes outside to see the other ninja goofing off, kind of just doing some stuff. Kai obviously still can't use his powers, and Nia is unable to use hers because everything is chilly. I think she at this point is looking at the mech locator. She's trying to find out where the super awesome cool mech is at, the one that got disarmed earlier in the fire chapter. When all of a sudden the 2 folks come back, they're like, "We heard the people! I have better hearing than this guy," and then they get in a small fight. It's very funny. There's an army coming, we have to prepare. So the ninja are like, shucks, we gotta prepare. And Kai's like, I still can't use my power. Because they talk about the fire. The fire that they have in the village is the only fire they have. If it goes out, they have no way to start it back up. And of course, they don't have any real way to start back up because Kai cannot use his firepower. So they spend a portion of the episode setting up defenses, getting ready, preparing, and so and behold, the villains are here. Charge! It's a cool action fight scene. This army is coming at them. They're doing their best to defend. Spinjitsu's going off. Antics are ensuing. Crazy stuff is happening. During it, they find out that one of the folks, one of the ice soldiers, is still a person fighting for control. No, don't hurt me. Stop it. Be evil. And so a lot of them are fighting for that inner control. And so we're kind of setting that up. During the fight, the fire gets put out, and then all the ice folk bail. So the fire is out. Everything sucks until Kai can control fire again, and he relights the fire, and that's the end of the episode. So okay, Meso, you have mentioned there have been several times throughout the fire chapter where you and I disagreed on what we felt were the limitations of the 11-minute format. There were some things that you felt were part of that restriction, that were due to that restriction, but I disagreed with. I thought that it was perfectly done in that time span. I think the only time we agreed on the 11 minutes being an issue has been almost entirely centered around Kai. There was that one episode early in the fire chapter where he had that kind of inner quarrel, and then the kid came up and he's like, I'm your biggest fan. And Kai's like, go away. And he's like, Ninja never quit. Kai's like, yeah, you're right, kid. Kai... This is another episode where I definitely believe that this definitely strikes me as an 11-minute restriction. Because Kai kind of just...
But it's his personality,
just
man.
kind of gets
goes
his...
back and forth so fast.
It's not that. It's the fact It's the fact he has no personality. he's just a guy. So when they want to try to give him an arc, they have to spend like time of the episode like establishing that problem, and they just have the compulsion.
I don't know, man.
It's like they second guess it halfway through, and they're like, "Wow, can this really sustain multiple episodes?" So they pivot, and they're like, "Oh no, can't cancel that. Let's just end it."
Here's my problem. My problem is like I hate critiquing or criticizing whenever I can't put forward a solution. At the same time, I don't know how to solve the problem. You know? Like, I don't know how I would have given Kai his fire back. The gal says to Kai, "Your fire can never be taken. Your power can never be stolen. It is always within you." I think I mentioned while we were watching it, Chen might have a few words for her.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, didn't they also make elemental dragons? I don't know.
Look, so here's the deal. What I would have done is plain and simple. Keep Kai getting his fire back, but put some time in between the fire getting put out and the fire getting turned back on.
Well,
now this would have necessitated another episode, which they maybe would not have had the runtime for, but that is my problem. My problem is not that Kai restarts the fire. It's not even that he just gets his power back, even though I do kind of have a problem with that. It's that it happens so fast. You barely even have like 30 seconds to breathe after, "Oh, this really sucks." No, Psych, it's all right. Everything's good again. What they should have done was have an episode that bridges right after from this, where they have to try to figure out what to do. Something happens and Kai is forced into a position where he has to save one of his friends or whatever, and it's do or die, and he finds that inner strength inside of himself and like an impulse moment, like it just comes to him, and then they're like, "Hey, I can light the fire now," so they go back to do that. Rather than him just saying,
No, I disagree
instead
with
of that would be way more impactful than Lloyd or whoever going, "Try Kai," so he tries and does it.
Yeah, if he
has
had done
to
a
find that
try and
strength.
fail, and then I think if he had, I think the whole tribe gathering around the fire, like on the brink of quote unquote death, like that was pretty powerful to see Kai stand up and brush his coat off to do it. That was a pretty.
No, it was a great
moment.
scene. It was a very powerful moment. It just wasn't earned.
Yeah, he had to try and fail earlier. If he had tried and failed in the episode earlier, where like he tries to fight off Vex using his fire abilities, like trying so hard but couldn't do it, and then later he tries in front of the fire because he sees all the people, then that might
changed the variable about saving a friend or whatever, but he needed to do a trial. He needed to go through something in order to get there.
I think, honestly, I agree with you in the sense that Kai getting his powers back isn't really my issue. He had to at some point. There's just you're not gonna have him without powers for the entirety of a season. That's fine.
I want them to,
especially in the ice realm.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would not have wanted them to do that.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fair, perfectly reasonable. The two issues I have are, firstly, the fact that the resolution is so fast. The fire is out. About 2 minutes go by, maybe even less, and the fire is back. Secondly, my other issue is I don't know if the setup was necessarily there for his powers to return. And the only reason I'm saying that is because we saw Saphira? No. Yes? Asphira. Sorry.
Asphira.
Disclaimer to everyone, the reason I keep screwing that up is because there's a member of our channel who goes by the moniker Saphira, something like that.
So I kept thinking it's because you're an Aragon fan.
No, it's not. And so I keep on mixing those two. Anyway, we saw Asphira after she was captured, as she normally is pre-fire capture. So
yeah,
to me that indicated, well, either the fire is going back or it has already returned to Kai.
That's
However,
what I gathered.
Yeah.
The thing is, it wasn't conveyed enough to where I could safely make that assumption.
Yeah,
maybe it will be in the future. I don't know,
because it was a prison dampener. I guess is the only reason why.
I have no idea. I'm just
Yeah, they don't. I would imagine it's a prison dampener.
yeah. So the episode, for the most part, is fine, but
Mhm.
that would definitely be my complaint, and I
The only
highly attribute that to the 11-minute format.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just something because I counted 57 seconds between the fire going out and the fire coming back on.
Not even a minute.
Mhm.
Not even a minute. Now I like it. It was a powerful scene, and I like Kai having being relevant for a change, especially for what the next episode brings in. It's a good dynamic, but
Hmm.
it wasn't really earned. And additionally, I say I don't have a problem with him getting his powers back, and I don't. The problem is the runtime, but I do have a slight problem with it that merits being addressed, and it is that so elemental power can never be stolen. That's what she was saying essentially. I mean, doesn't that contradict the Tournament of Elements,
I guess
where
what
they
she's saying is
literally
that
did?
they could have willed it back, but they didn't try.
They didn't try to will it back.
I mean that, yeah.
I guess I can buy that.
In all fairness, I mean, we've in Lego themes we've run into a variety of instances where the main characters, which are usually elemental wielders, will lose access to their powers but still have an intrinsic connection to it. Most notably, of course, you'll hear me say this a lot, Bionicle in 2003. The Toe and Nuva, they lost their powers because they had something taken from them. However, they still had an intrinsic connection to those powers, to what allowed them to control their super strong power. And that ended up being the deciding factor battling specific villains. In this instance,
Yeah.
it was the Barakal. So it's not unprecedented. And I'm perfectly down for that. It's just one of those things where should we be left to infer it, or would it be better having a clarification?
I mean, I don't really need it clarified so much. Like I totally believe that maybe they just didn't know it. Like they could will it back because in possession they also lost the powers when Lloyd got possessed by Moro.
Yeah.
Tournament of Elements, they just kind of assumed they were
Here's
gone.
I've got the example. Skylar. She lost her powers in Tournament of Elements, and then she got them back for March of the Oni. She
Wait.
didn't have them for Skybound though.
She didn't use them for
Yeah,
Skybound.
she didn't use
Yeah,
them.
she
But
didn't use them.
she
She
got
might
them
have had
back
them.
when everybody else did, I believe.
Yeah.
No, she didn't.
Wait, why not?
No, she lost her powers at the end of Tournament of Elements because she had everyone's powers. She used them with the I forget the name of the the stone that they used, but they just trapped her to the wall, and she used her powers to turn them all into Anachondri, and it drained her powers. And she couldn't use them for the rest of the season. And so Lloyd had asked if her powers had returned in March of the Oni, and she said yes, they had returned. In
It
Hunted. Sorry.
drained her powers.
Yes.
I
She turned
don't
into a
remember well enough to dispute it. So
I remember her getting turned into a snake.
Yeah.
I don't remember them outright saying, "Hey, I've lost all of my powers."
Yeah, but I
She
do
told
recall
Kai
what.
on the back of a dragon saying, "If I wish I could, disappear."
All right.
No, I
Something
do
like that.
recall instances of that. I also do recall that quote, "Have your powers returned yet?"
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay, you know what? No, fair. That in that case, there's at least there is a
Yeah.
precedent for it. So
Just maybe not that fast.
Yeah,
But,
if there's a precedent, I can accept it because technically it has been a while since Kai has lost his powers. It's
So-
less about that. It's been like days, but it's more about a screen time thing.
The other big thing is that we're not talking about
Hmm.
is how the heck does Sorla know about elemental powers and how they work? It's like
See, I
she just
wasn't-
seems like an elder.
I wasn't
to
gonna
this
bother
plan,
complaining
but-
about that because I figured it was just wise person talk.
Yeah, but
if you would,
she knew it was elemental powers, and she knew she even talked about it later in a future episodes. Like, how do you know so much about this?
I don't.
yeah, I
mind
mean
that.
it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, I mean it is worth mentioning. I
Maybe it will come up.
if it does,
I
that'd
doubt
be
it.
cool.
But
I think it's just she's the token mentor character, ergo she must spout the wisdom. That might just be the cynic in
Now-
me, but
Hear me out. It's actually Garmadon and Wu's long-lost sister.
I was gonna say mother.
Bum,
But
bum,
So
bum.
I love it. I'd be down.
I did see a theory floating around on Twitter that she's the first Benjutsu Master's wife.
Interesting.
Possible.
It makes sense why
Considering,
she
like,
would know so
Though,
much about
did the
Avatar.
first Benjutsu Master ever marry?
I
We
mean,
don't know anything.
I mean,
about
my assumption was always that the first Benjutsu Master just kind of like
that. Created to each other.
created them, just like out of thin air.
Yeah,
That was always my
we
general
don't really
assumption.
know much about that. The whole backstory with all that.
I always figured he did have a family. I don't think that. Yeah, like Dark Dragon says, I don't think he freaking spawned them with like Minecraft spawn eggs. I mean, it's not like I can't buy that. That's perfectly plausible. It's just never how I imagined it. We were like inverse about that. Either way works though. If they did bother to explain it,
Yeah.
I don't know. But
I'm not gonna complain.
Or she's an Oni. Who knows?
Point being, it was a good episode, but it suffered from the runtime. As far as positive things, the fight was cool. The siege on the camp. The fact that there's some ice people who are just corrupted people, and some that are just like actually made of like straight ice.
Yeah.
And they break and they shatter.
I think we can start talking about the ice because the ice is acting weird.
Very
like,
weird.
Vex has the ability to see things in the realm with just a slab of ice. Ice can control people. It can also form enemies like the Vermilion Warriors, and they turn into ice, which has a really cool like animation thing when they destroy. They just kind of shatter. It's really cool.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the ice is acting really weird, and they talked about it in this episode that the reason they can't take the fire and leave with it is because it's getting colder. They had other tribes and villages around them, but they all left because it's getting colder, and that the Ice Emperor has been there for about a couple of decades, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse.
Big thinking.
So there's something wrong with the ice there. And I think that's all I'm gonna say on that bullet point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's fine. I like that. I like the world. I think that this is a perfectly reasonable setup, and the colder aspect definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
So, do you guys want to get on the next one, or is there anything else?
Yes.
Highlight a funny moment for Cole, cause gotta do it. Where Cole kind of disrespected Nia and got a snowball to the face. That was a really good moment.
Isn't that the next episode?
No, that was this episode because Jay fell off the roof while he's working, and so Nia comes down, and Cole's like, "Why can't you control powers?" And she's like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Man, you could have been really helpful. You could have just done all the work for us, yada yada yada, and doing all that." And Nia was not liking it.
Weird.
So
I
she
thought that
threw
was the next
snowball.
one.
No, the next one is the hammock.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
So yeah, so I thought that was really funny.
Okay.
I just really like
Fact.
Cole and Nia's dynamic.
Haley, I'm sorry I have to do it to you. Elders, right?
Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. It's like because they're
No.
Check again.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Let's just
21-15. Check again.
don't sweat the petty things and don't pet the sweaty things. Let's go ahead and move on, guys.
Move on.
Okay.
Move on.
Okay. So next episode. Work. Hang on. Do it. No. Okay. Fine. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go and get the episode title, and you're gonna work. Beautiful. Wait. Whatever. Next episode is episode 18, An Unlikely Ally. And I gotta say, I agree with the episode. Oh, that's why this is not doing it. Okay. Nope. Stop it. I'm sorry. Okay, brilliant. Episode starts off, Ninja are helping repair the town. They're just kind of doing some construction work. Nia is on a roof. So the Ninja are all helping out and trying to do what they can. And Kai is back, everyone. That's right. Smug, overconfident, egotistic Kai has returned. He is the bee's knees in this city because he can control fire. He is the fire maker. And so all the kids are like, Kai, come on, cook these fish for us. Give me your autograph. He's like, of course, kids. And so he's soaking it in, having a great time. Meanwhile, Nia is very upsetty spaghetti because she cannot use her powers. It was touched upon a few episodes ago, And of course, it is being looked into further now. She cannot control any of the ice because it is ice. Even though she acknowledges it's water, she says that the reason she can't control it is because it is frozen water. So there is our distinction. We'll see if that progresses any further. Most LEGO themes usually keep ice and water separate, and they never touch upon the possibility of the other controlling one. However, in this case, we are looking into it. The old lady, whose name just continues to escape me. I will remember it one day.
Sorla.
Sorla, thank you.
Sorla. It's like Sora, but Sorla.
Thank you. She says, well, you might be able to control it. You're just not speaking its language. And he is like, okay. So, that's a scoop there. The ninja are further discussing their next plan. I think there's a ping on the thing that's looking for the mech.
That was good.
There's like the mech locator goes ping. And so what the ninja decide is that Lloyd is going to go off on his own to try and find the mech, and he'll be back. So the other ninjas stay. So meanwhile, the Ice Emperor is like, do the thing. Kill them all. Or whatnot. And we cut to Lloyd, and he's on his own, where he's attacked by more wolves. So we're about ready for PETA protest number 2, when all of a sudden another wolf comes in. This time, one that is white with 3 tails, and helps Lloyd out. Lloyd's like, here, have a fish on a stick. It's fishy and sticky. And the wolf is like, let's hang out. So the two of them hang out. Lloyd gets ambushed and manages to just barely make it out of that alive with the help of the wolf. And that's the end of the episode.
You skipped something.
Okay. Haley, I want to put this to you as politely as I can. Okay. We haven't seen these episodes in a week to 2 weeks. And all I can go off of are pictures that
I guess it is
barely remind me of the episode to begin with. So anything that's left
Vex,
out.
at one point in this episode, Vex went to a dungeon and talked to a person in the shadows who we do not know.
Great. That picture
who offered help.
To me, the quality of the image I have, it is a bunch of black and blue smudges and what looks like a plate of Thanksgiving potatoes.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
No, I mean, like, if the pictures are bad, just scroll through the episodes.
I'm sorry, what?
No, don't worry about
it. If the pictures are bad, what? Go ahead, by all means.
No.
You can scrub through the episodes.
I can script the episodes?
You can scrub it through the episodes as a refresher, which
Vex
is what I
saw a prisoner, or he was talking to a prisoner who we do not know. It was completely shrouded. We have no idea who this person is. It is assumed to be Zane, is in the dungeon.
This is the point. That was the last piece of context that we were missing before we can start to talk about the Ice Emperor theories.
We will.
Is the person in the shadows.
What we know about this person in the shadows is that he's probably also from a different realm, or he's another traveler. Looks like a guy based off of the hairpiece that we saw.
It's impossible to judge off of hairpieces.
We have no idea who this is.
Yeah. Meso, you are a constant reminder that the adage, ignorance is bliss, is so painfully accurate.
Go on.
I'll go on later, but it pertains to it pertains to the actual setup of streams. Regardless, yeah, we can't tell exactly who or what this prisoner is.
And the best part about all of this is we can't even theorize who it is. Like, there are people who's like, maybe it's the first Venjitsu master, or it's Cole's mom, or it's the first, master of ice. But like, we don't really know who they are.
Who is guessing that it's Cole's mom?
I don't know. Who could be guessing that it's Cole's mom?
You're being wishful.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
What? Hang on. I'm going to put a pin in that, and I'm going to remember this, because the next episode, next episode will lead to...
Oh, no!
just we're gonna continue on with this one.
Okay, we'll do that.
I like it.
This person is a complete mystery, and this is like the first time in this season we don't know anything about this. This is the first time in Ninjago where I'm just like completely dumbfounded. I don't know who this person is.
Well, I mean, okay, you said they specifically say they're from a different realm.
I believe so. Either it's a different realm or another traveler.
Because here's my thing. I think getting caught up on who it is the wrong approach. Because it would not surprise me if it's nobody.
Yeah, it could be nobody.
The point of the person, to me, and this is where we'll start to talk about theories, the point is to make us think that it's Zane.
Zane.
But
if
it's
it was
not
Zane,
otherwise
it would
they
have
would have
showed his
shown us
face.
Zane. There's no reason to blur out
Mhm.
if it is actually Zane.
So there's an echo in here.
Yeah, exactly. Haley like saying the same thing.
Oh my gosh, Dark Takanuva is so right. What if it's one of Natakon's pirate crew? Because they were all banished to different realms.
I'm gonna mute the both of you. I swear it.
No, that's the. Oh
Haley,
my
stop
gosh.
distracting.
No, that's a really good theory.
Wait. Are you serious?
Yes, because Natakon's crew, they were all banished into different realms.
Boy.
Okay. Now. I'm gonna entertain this. What narrative addition would that provide, and why wouldn't they just show that it's one of Natakon's group?
Because we're supposed to
I
think
have
it's
answers
Zane.
to both.
Okay.
What narrative reason would it provide? About as much as the anime episode, and secondarily because they're duping us into thinking it's Zane.
Yeah.
It could very easily be anybody. I just don't think it's one of Natakon's crew.
That would be cool if it's like Flintlock or something, and just
Fine.
for Nia and what is it, Jay? They have like a cool little like, oh my gosh, it's you, and Flintlock's like, who the heck are you? So, but anyway, back onto the bigger theory. We're gonna talk about the Ice Emperor.
Yes. May I continue?
You can continue.
Thank
That
you.
was a really good theory.
Okay. It's a theory. Elge, you got something to say?
No. Continue.
Okay, cool. No, it's just I think they're trying to make you think it's Zane because logically it is Zane because that's how the story is shaking out to be. But ever since the Ice Emperor has shown up, the community has been circulating. So this is not going to be some, crazy theory people haven't heard before. If you've been following the Ninjago community, you've probably heard this theory for a while that Zane is the Ice Emperor. So you might be shocked by that if you haven't and be like, well, let's explain it. In short, he was holding the scroll of forbidden spinjitzu when he gets teleported in. So the current theory is that the scroll of forbidden spinjitzu possibly overtook Zane, corrupting him into the Ice Emperor. And the presuppositions that Zane is the prisoner aren't actually true. If you look at the Ice Emperor's minifigure, his eyes are the exact same as Zane. If you look at the minifigure in the set, his printing is the exact same as Zane on the legs and on part of the torso. His voice is different, but not different enough to where it couldn't just be like an older Zane whose processor is worn down or whatever. His hands are the same as Zane's. It is basically set up very well that it is just an older, corrupted Zane.
Yes.
Because I feel that if it was as cut and dry as Zane as the prisoner, there would not be such an air of mystery around it. We've had a Zane as the prisoner arc before. It was, in Tournament of Elements, and they showed him pretty much straight away. But this
There's
time,
another really cool detail that someone pointed out earlier in the chat. LJ Tyler, look at that picture. What do you notice about the ice?
I mean, very little because it's very blurry.
It's techno-y, I guess.
It kind of looks very techno-y.
Now the image will cycle through. No, this is not from this episode. For context, everyone who can't see it, who isn't a part of our patron chat, it's the picture with the general bowing, and he's got like the ice throne that the dude is sitting on, and all the spikes have like techno-looking lines through them. So.
At first, I thought it was just cracks, but it does follow a pattern that it could be like tech, whatnot. The other important thing that they've been discussing is that the scroll or a staff that looks like it could be the scroll is frozen to the Emperor's hand.
Yeah.
He's not actually holding it. What that means, I don't know, but it's possible it got stuck there.
Yeah. He might have used it too much, and so now you may be asking, how the heck could Zane be the Ice Emperor? The Ice Emperor has been around for decades, according to the people here.
That's touched upon in a future episode, isn't it?
Not really. It continues the theory.
Okay, fair enough.
But the
Continue.
theory is from here is that time works differently in Neverrealm, where a few days back in Ninjago is a few decades in the Neverrealm. So that was a theory when we saw this episode, is that maybe when Zane got here and he waited for the ninja, he had to fend for himself using the scroll. It corrupted him. He became the Ice Emperor there, and he's literally like turned the whole entire world into like his kingdom, a
Yep.
horrible kingdom. So,
And I think it's really interesting and supportive of this that in this very same episode, they begin to deal with Nia possibly learning how to control ice. Because if Zane is gone and he's not part of the team anymore, if they have to, kill him or whatever, if he's a villain, then Nia
Yeah.
can fill his shoes and control that power of ice.
Yes.
Because they do. It's not just like I can't do it. Like LJ mentioned, they have that whole scene where she's telling her, "No, you can do it. You just have to try."
She knows so much about this. Why does she know so much?
I don't know.
Okay.
And that could be a really good way to keep the ice element in
Mhm.
play. It'd be different than what Lego's always done, but it wouldn't surprise me if
Yeah.
this pans out.
There's another point I want to talk on this, but we're going to have to do it in a future episode.
Yeah.
So another possibility. But the fact that Zane might be quote unquote out of commission after this season is troubling and definitely very possible.
As
Or
much as
Zane
I love Brent Miller,
actually dies.
as much as I love Brent Miller, bring it on. Ninjago is, I've said
We're
it
due
before,
for
it's in dire need of stakes, and having one of the main ninja turn into a crazy villain that destroys a realm and has to be killed or, overthrown, bring it. And then actually taken out of the team roster.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean,
I'm all for that.
I don't necessarily think that this would mean Brent would go away. It would just mean that Zane would be repurposed at this point. I'd like to see, like, if this is all accurate and Zane ends up becoming a villain, I would like for him to fill a series villain role instead of just a season villain role. So I'd like to,
cool.
I'd love to see him again.
They have to come back and try to,
I'm not even thinking come back. I'm thinking Ice Emperor goes to Ninjago, but that's all under the assumption this is all accurate and this pans out.
I'm down for that. I'm totally down. I'm also down for the idea that I've seen being tossed around that Pixel gets his powers and then Zane becomes an AI.
Well, we'll get that. That's the point I was getting to. We'll talk about that in a future episode because there is a way. Yeah, we'll get to it later.
Solid.
Okay.
So what else happened this episode?
I mean, the wolf thing.
The wolf shows up, which is almost assuredly Akita.
It's almost like, I think it's another one of those cases where it's only because we've seen the sets. It's like Harumi being a villain. If we hadn't seen the sets, it wouldn't be annoying. But because we have seen the sets,
the trailer for the
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The trailer.
You've seen her.
Yeah, it's just kind of annoying to me because I've seen that stuff. Like I know it's a person. Who's cut to it already, but they have to show the wolf bonding with Lloyd, and it's sweet. And they find
Lloyd has to bond with the wolf before he finds out it's a girl.
Yeah,
who
that's going to be a blow. That's going to be a blow to him.
What if it just what if she doesn't transform, but it's almost like an astral projection?
That would be cool.
We've seen stuff like that before. It wouldn't take me too off guard.
It wouldn't surprise me. Like she's stuck in the wolf form, but she can still like project herself as a human. Like
other way around.
I'm down for that. Either way.
Oh, she projects herself as a wolf.
Yes.
To bring him along.
Yes, because she would be the captured party in this instance.
I love to see like a moment where like she transforms, but Lloyd doesn't see it, and so Lloyd meets her, and he's like, "Wow, you look really familiar."
Yeah.
Probably something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got a pet wolf. Makes me so happy. Lloyd's got a dog.
All right.
Sure. Okay.
But
go ahead.
so the spirit that he had to shout out in the canyon, was it Wohira?
Yes.
That's the same name back from Sons of Garmadon.
Is it?
From Dead Man's Squall. It was a very brief mention, but Neo was like, yeah, they used to worship the storm spirit Wohira.
Oh yeah. I do remember that,
They
actually.
briefly mentioned that, but I think that's the same name that they threw around. I think at one point it sounded different, but it was weird that it was the same thing. So,
Interesting.
so yeah, that is a little tidbit.
Just a cultural thing from another
Mhm.
realm that bled into Ninjago.
It sounds like a bionicle name, but
And
yeah.
it does. Weirua was the storm Kaita that
Was not
blended,
the Storm Kaita,
air.
but
It was not referred to, but it blended water and air, which there was always that old concept about Liwa and Gali mixing their powers to control the storms.
was it a concept?
Yee.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh boy.
What's got into you today?
Anyway, yeah.
Next episode.
It's an
Next
interesting
episode. Oh boy.
tidbit. Okay,
History is about to be made.
so the next episode is I'm gonna preface this by saying it is absolutely outstanding. Is episode 19, the absolute worst, which is funny because that is not what I'd call this episode at all. Episode starts.
Notice
Okay.
this is a continuation of the fire chapter.
Yes,
because
okay,
the way that
so-
they introduced it.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Episode starts off, we are at Cryptarium Prison. Two guards are chatting it up, looking at a newspaper. One of them's looking for his funnies. However, they locate the tidbit in the newspaper talking about the ninja's disappearance. The head guy of the prison's like, stop that! What if all the people here found out about it? And they're like, sorry, it's our first day on the job. Okay, they didn't say that. It's a reference to Hero Factory. So needless to say, newspaper blows up and away and into the next cell and gets in the hands of that one techno guy who tried to bust Zane open and use him for parts. He's like, the ninja have escaped. He goes over to what's her name? Total Panic? Total Mayhem?
Ultraviolet.
Ultraviolent. Yeah, there we go. And for some reason,
Nice.
he goes over to her and is like, check it out, the ninja are gone. She's like, great, now we can escape. So, later that night, at lights out, he gets a key, he gets out of his cell, he goes over to her cell, and this, taking the pin out, she has a poster of Cole's father, which is obviously a hint that the prisoner is Cole's mother.
Yes.
All right.
Or Cole's sister. We
I-
don't know.
I would love that so much if she's like Cole's mom.
All right.
And all your theories boiled down to
That's-
ultraviolet.
Literally, I would
probably
be
die
like
of
jaw on the floor, just like, really?
All right.
I would never
That-
let you
that
live
was-
it
I would
down.
never be able to watch Sons of Garmadon ever again. All of those scenes with Cole and Ultraviolet, I would not be able to watch those ever again.
Children. We'll get into it. I just wanted to make a dumb joke. Moving on. They get to the sewers through a hole in the wall that was behind the poster that Ultraviolet had cut out. So they go through, they're in the sewers, they're chatting about who the worst ninja is. One of the Ultraviolet believes it was Zane. Techno guy says it's Nia. And then new villain, new character.
The mechanic.
Mechanic, thank you. Fugidove is here and he says it's Jay. This character is hilarious. We'll get into that in a second. So the three of them are getting into it about who the worst ninja is, and we get into their individual stories. Ultraviolet says she was fighting the ninja. She had him at their ropes. She was about to win, obviously. It's very credible. When all of a sudden Zane comes in on a jet. So she runs up the side of a building, jumps on the jet, and starts fighting Zane, where he transforms in this four-legged, four-armed monster and just dispatches her, turns her into an ultraviolet sickle. And it's great. The mechanic calls her out on it. He's like, okay, that's ridiculous. And obviously you're wrong, because Nia's the worst. Because I was driving my cool truck, and then she stole the truck. Clearly, because that's something she would do. And he quotes her as saying, I'm gonna take this without asking. And it's great. So they call him out on that. And then best new character, Fugidove, is saying, it's obviously Jay. So here I was, bust of a lifetime, all the money bags, beating the other three ninjas single-handedly when Jay comes in riding on a lightning bolt, takes him out, and the others call him out on that, saying, oh, come on, you haven't even seen a ninja before. They bust out of the prison through the sewers. Samurai X comes in, captures all three of them like that, and the episode ends.
LJ, how did you manage to say that without using anime once? You didn't even say the word anime once.
I didn't know I
Talking about the
had to.
plot.
Oh, come on!
I
I mean, his job's to recap the plot, not the art stuff.
yeah. Well, we'll get
The
into
art
it.
style changes.
Yes, I know. That's why we're going to discuss it. The recaps aren't discussion. It's just a refresher and for me to have fun. This
Essentially.
episode, okay, there have been some folks in the Ninjago community that don't like this episode, and to
Yeah, it's
them
about a 50-50 split.
I can only say you have to open your mind. You have to be willing to try new things and willing to experience new directions, because this episode is absolutely fan freaking tastic. It is completely out of synchronization with the rest of the Ice chapter. It bears no relevance to absolutely anything else at all. It is 100% by the book's filler, and it is one of my favorite episodes through the entire season. It's so freaking good.
I was at work the other night, and I was perusing on Twitter because I was curious to see reactions, and I was talking to Haley and just absolutely fuming because there are some people on Twitter who have like very, very hyperbolic hatred of this episode for reasons that, and like, I don't mean to put people down. Lord knows, I would never be a proponent that says you can't criticize stuff, but like, at least have reasons to back it up other than the absolute worst is the absolute worst episode of Ninjago season 11 and maybe even the entire series, IMO. The anime stuff's interesting, but don't have it in the main show. I'd rather it just be its own separate thing as like a mini series or something. It's pointless and it breaks the flow. Or the absolute worst perfectly describes itself in its title. The absolute worst. Terrible episode. No point whatsoever to the story of the season. It was just a pathetic excuse to try some awful new animation. And I was seething because is this really how people reward originality nowadays? People complain. Ninjago is the same. Every season's the same. Every season follows a template. Yeah, it's been a critique people have had with the villains and the story structure and the fetch quest collectathon nature. And this season is shaking up the formula in big ways, both structurally and artistically. And it deserves nothing but praise.
Well,
Nothing.
hold on. Nothing but
Yeah.
praise.
There's-
But
Concept alone. You can talk about how Jay's animation's a little janky in that one section. That's a critique you can make. But is it bad on the concept? No. The concept of shaking up the status quo. You can't critique that. That's a good thing. Just saying Ninjago should always remain the same. Like, no. I do not believe that at all. And this episode was a masterclass.
Yes.
Not to say it was perfect in little details. The animation was a little janky at times.
I think what I liked so much about this was they took the anime, something that we've always really kind of hoped for, vocally and also secretly, and they made fun of it. They played it like it was a joke more than it was actually happening, because it was a story format where, of course, it was all fictional according to what they think happens with the ninja, and they're making sense of their powers and whatnot. But it's a joke and it's hilarious, and the writing is like so stupid and funny at the same time. And it's like, this is what, when people watch this episode by themselves, they haven't even seen any Ninjago, they might think Ninjago is like the stupidest show ever. But what I like about it is because we know Ninjago is serious, and it's just making fun of the ninja, it's making fun of anime, and it's just a blast, and I really enjoy that. And I was laughing the whole time. It was very intelligent. It's like, it's dumb, but in a smart way.
Well, what you have when you like introduce new tones or new art styles and the stuff, when it has a place in the story, is you broaden your appeal. Like Mange or Envy from TTV for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
He saw it an episode. He saw this episode. He hasn't watched Ninjago. He hasn't seen much of it, but he saw this episode because he could get something out of it. And if I ever want to show this to people who don't watch Ninjago but watch anime, like, that is a thing that you have the ability to do. You broaden your reach that way.
Mhm.
You expand how many people can see your stuff. That's the appeal of things that have anthology seasons, which Ninjago hasn't done yet, but I hope they do one day, where each episode's something different. You know,
Mhm.
it's cool. I like
Yeah.
experimentation, and
Mhm.
I value it. Do I want the entire show to stop being produced so they can do an anime instead? Not necessarily. I see a lot of
Mhm.
people going that hyperbolic route and saying it's going to take over and end the show as we know it. No, calm down. It's not gonna do that.
It
But
just makes me excited for sock puppets, honestly.
oh boy,
I forgot about that. Oh, I'm ready.
Now, the other critique that a lot of people are saying is that it's 100% filler. This episode does nothing to the show. It literally, like, it starts and ends, and that's it. The only thing that I have against that is 2 words. Fuji Dove. Because he's coming back. He's coming back. And this was the perfect way to introduce him.
So-
and I think, what is it?
I mean, that's a great reason.
Tommy and the voice actor said, this guy is coming back.
I mean, that's
So
a great reason.
therefore, it's not filler. It can't be filler because it introduced this character who is hilarious. He's got his own thing going. And by golly, the ninja better look out because
I mean, look,
they can't handle Fuji Dove.
from filler has a negative connotation. From a lot of people use it in anime. Anime filler is the most notorious because it literally, like, it's not created by the actual creator of the manga. It's put into the anime when they're about to catch up to the manga to pad the time. Ninjago's had filler in the past that were created when there weren't waves of sets to do stories based off of, like the Mega Weapon week, and that was jarring at that point because we were having a very tight serialized story based on product, and then suddenly we get a whole season of nothing, and that was jarring and people hated it. This season has changed the formula. This is not the first episode to be completely disconnected from the plot. Sure, the other episodes had to do with the fire stuff, but the Nelson episode and the news episode marked the shift that this season is taking. This is just continuing that kind of a style of disconnected episodes from the main cast. So this is the norm. You want to call it filler? Sure, I call it fun.
Yeah.
Factor. I only dislike filler when it is deemed non-canon, and the only time that's the case is in anime. Everything else, like if this actually affects the story and uses characters that I've known and brings them back and introduces new characters which are going to show up again, I don't consider it. Consider it filler.
Envy's right. Envy, wow, Envy contributing. I agree. He thinks that it's a safe experiment, and I agree.
Yeah.
There is only one complaint I would leverage against its concept, and that is it does break the pace. But again, I would be a lot more willing to accept that critique if it was 1 episode a week, because then you have to wait like 2 weeks to get plot development, but you don't. It's 2 episodes a week whenever these air. So this is bundled with plot development. AKA, I don't think it breaks the pace.
So I have obviously a lot to say on this. There's an individual in the live YouTube chat who is very, very against this episode and its execution, which, welcome. Thank you for sharing your perspective and opinion. Nobody's going to be irritated by it. But I have to ask. You're very against the episode, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm curious about why. Like they say here, mixing anime with minifigure animation, big no. Showing both types on screen, big no. Why? See, I love the structuring of this. And there's another... Okay, what was even the point for this anime episode, if there was any? Okay. Messa, you already touched upon this. Filler has a negative connotation for being just almost placating an audience. It's like they have to fill time between one episode to another. It just fills the gap. It's filler. It doesn't contribute anything, and usually the writing standard is much lower than the usual product.
Usually it's outright non-canon if we're talking
well,
about
yes,
it from
usually
an
it's
anime
non-canon,
perspective.
though at the same time, canonicity often... It doesn't necessarily have a play on how it's enjoyable. This episode is canon, but... And it is filler. However, it is just so much fun. And this is what I was saying in the fire chapter. No matter the episode, I was having fun watching it. I was having fun. Even if I had critiques with episodes, I was still having a good time because the episodes are fun and I was having fun during them. This episode was a lot like it. It was a fun episode, and it used the style differences creatively. They said it would make sense in context, and to me it didn't matter if it made sense in context. I just thought it was going to be interesting to see them going in a direction that was new and fresh and different and experimental. And in context, of course it makes sense because it plays so well to the episode itself. The characters are telling these stories and obviously exaggerating it super heavily. So the exaggerations are best conveyed with an exaggerated style. I think that's wonderful. It wouldn't have had the same impact if it were just normal minifigure illustrations or animation, because then you couldn't convey the same way the exaggerated nature of the stories as well as you could have with this alternative style. Not to mention, I am a sucker for any time people take minifigures and adapt them to people, to human characteristics. And this is what this did. You have now designs for the characters with human proportions and looks and not just a minifigure. So now you know how they would look if you were to, say, dress up as one, as like a ninja. Because now you know what that is going to look like outside of a box, right?
Especially Zane. Zane looks super cool.
Zane looks awesome. I thought that they all looked really, really good, really stylistic. So there were a few people who were like, they shouldn't have kept them yellow. I'm 100% down for the fact that they kept them yellow. That is a style that keeps things consistent with Lego. I'm very, 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 very happy they kept them yellow. And that way, if anyone wants to give them skin tones, they can still give them whatever skin tone they want and not have it contradicted by the show. The show stayed consistent. I support it 100%. It's a very wise decision. All in all, the episode was filler. But that is not a negative thing at all because it is fun. Shows will die if it takes itself too seriously, and if you take it too seriously. Bionicle did that a lot in its run, and it was not always to its benefit. Ninjago, in this instance, isn't taking itself so seriously to think that it can never have fun with its premise or its execution, and that is so massively important. This episode is, honestly, it's important to the future of the franchise, because it shows that it is not confined strictly to, the Play-Doh animation of the minifigures or look. It shows that there are other avenues it can take if need be. I could see an entire show like this, an entire season in Ninjago like this, and I think it'd be awesome. I think it'd be super fun to see. It'd be really entertaining. I don't necessarily think we need it right now. I think the way they did it in this episode is perfectly fine. It was used as a storytelling device and also a way for the folks working on the series to just have a good time. I'm very content with it. I think that anyone that doesn't like it, I think it isn't really looking at it through a lens that would allow it to change.
What I would say from an alternative point of view, just another reason why it's such a good thing, look at it like this. Ninjago has a lot of characters.
Mm-hmm.
They have a ton of supporting cast. And it's been a complaint by many people that a lot of characters will just disappear and you won't hear from them for years because they don't have a place in the current story. This, and episodes like this, and episodes like, the Little Nelson episode, are a creative way to keep those side characters in people's minds, even when they are not necessarily plot integral. So going forward, if we have standalone episodes about, some of the Elemental Masters, or about Ronin, or a funny episode where Dareth does something, Episodes like that. They don't necessarily have to be about the villains like this episode was. It can be about some of the good guys too, just doing their day to day. Is that bad because it doesn't contribute to the current plot, or is it good because it makes use out of Ninjago's massive cast? I consider it a good thing, because as much as I would love to see these characters in seasons, I get that the more characters you have, the harder it is to have dynamics work for them. That's been a complaint we've been having about the ninja. So don't even talk about a supporting cast past the ninja, trying to make them all have roles and stuff, or bringing back all their old villains who are still around and kicking and having them do things. You just can't do it normally. But this 30 episode, 11-minute structure, it might work poorly for things like Kai's Fire, but it works really, really well for stuff like this. Because if we didn't have an episode like this, we may have never seen Ultraviolet again. But it was cool to see her. It was cool to see her again. It was cool to have her do something. I always felt like she got the least out of the Sons of Garmadon members. And now she has a whole episode where she's in it. So I think that's really cool. I think that's something to celebrate. And I think it's something to want more of. Because if this was a 6-episode season and they spent a whole episode on a filler story, then maybe I would start to get the critique and be like, this was a waste and we should have put this towards the plot. But it's a 30-episode season. I don't think it's going to harm the overall story if a few episodes from that are experimental or focus on different characters. And also, Prentice says Mr. E got the least out of the SOG. Yeah, fair enough. It was not Ultraviolet. It was definitely Mr. E.
Wait a sec. They didn't focus on Mr. E and reveal that it's actually Echo Zane this episode? 0 out of 10.
0 out of 10.
0 out of freaking 10. All right, Ninjago,
Ninjago,
folks,
what if?
you have majorly screwed up. I hate Ninjago now.
What if series? Oh my gosh.
I'd love it. That'd be great.
But
In anime form.
I
That's
personally,
that's my only.
I have more ire with episodes that are plot integral, but do not entertain me. Like we talked about the episode with the Explorers Club. Is that
Yep.
okay? And it works. It's a fine episode. I just don't.
Unmemorable.
It's not memorable to me. It has some funny jokes, but there's a lot of it. I can summarize the episode and just kind of pass it off. And I also don't even need to watch it. I don't need to watch it, even though I probably should, because it sets some things up that we might be getting into later on this episode. This season, that are important. Their fears. Zane's fear. Lloyd's fear. Nia's fear. Those are important things. But the overall episode, I just don't find very gripping. There are some things that are weird in it. I don't need to watch it to know, alright, they have the Forbidden Scroll now. I can just cut that episode out and not be too massively affected. I mean, I obviously recommend people watch it anyway to have that context.
Yeah, but if you're going to complain about filler, you got to take a look at the fact that a lot of the actual story episodes could be construed like that too if you want to go that lens. And you can't use anime as a scapegoat for those.
Yeah. This episode is filler. You can skip it as well, and it has no bearing on anything else. The difference is... Go ahead.
Entertaining.
It's entertaining. This is the most filler the most filler episode we've had this entire season, I would say. Just because it's literally so detached from what we've been seeing in the past few episodes, where it's like it doesn't affect the ninja at all completely.
Yeah.
We go into the next episode and it doesn't even get referenced. I would say the only reason it's not filler is because of Fujidove. If Fujidove was not in it, it would be complete filler.
No. You're conflating filler and canonicity. It's still filler. It's 100% filler. It doesn't tie into the season narratively, structurally, at all. It doesn't. It has nothing to do with the season. So it is filler, but it's canon.
The only canonicity concerns with filler, the only reason people even associate those two is because of anime and how that's like a problem that anime deals with sometimes, but that doesn't apply to this. This filler is still written by the showrunners and the writers. It's still funny. It uses characters we know. And like Fujidove, we will see again. So it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I think that the value that this has to a viewer is that it is immensely fun to watch. And if you don't have fun with it, that's fine. I don't think that there's anything wrong with not liking it. I think
Yeah.
that's perfectly reasonable to dislike it for a variety of reasons. The humor might not be your forte. You might not like the animation style. For a very, very long time, Haley fell into this camp. She hated animation styles exactly like this.
Yep.
I would think that has
Hate
changed.
is a strong word.
I wouldn't say so. I think it's very applicable for I can't get invested, I refuse to watch, etc.
Mhm.
But fair enough.
Oh my gosh.
But I think I asked the people that didn't like the style this, would you have rather this have been an entire episode with the style? Or the way they did it like this?
Or
'Cause
would
I-
you prefer to see it all as minifigures? Because I don't even know how they would even do like Zane transform into like a weird spider robot and as a minifigure.
Distraction.
No, okay, come on, Messer. They would not
He
be doing
unlocks his
construction.
arm, his minifigure arm, to show construction.
It-
It's like this whole time the minifigures have been construction. This whole time.
Construction was alive this whole time. But like there is another episode in the fire chapter that is also technically filler, but the difference between it and this is that it tied into the story because it was reactionary. It was filler that was reacting to the situation, which was the fire. It was the news episode, so it's like they were doing all these commercials live, but so they were all being affected differently by the snakes, the fire snakes, and so it's very funny to see how Ninjago citizens interact with the environment and with a scenario happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there are a lot of people who are looking for a reason as to why this exists. And there are a lot of times where you're looking at a scenario or a situation and you're like, well, I need an explanation. I need a reason. I need something that is complex and well thought out and that I can understand on a deep level. But a lot of the times that won't exist. You will not have this deep, well thought out rational explanation for why a thing has happened or has come into existence. Sometimes it's a very simple explanation. An explanation is that this is for fun. It's just for fun. And
Essentially.
if you don't enjoy it, that's fine, but I also don't necessarily think that this is a negative either.
No, because you cannot please everyone.
Yeah.
This pleases a lot of people. It doesn't please everybody. Is it bad for existing? No. No, it is not. That's why I'm saying, like, I can criticize a little frame of animation here, or I can criticize a story thing here, but like a thing's entire existence, does this invalidate all the other Ninjago episodes? Does it? Unless you're really worried this is going to take over the minifigure style, and you just must stamp it out before it overrides what you love, then I don't really understand why
Yeah, you've got nothing to worry about.
it's being reviled.
It just...
And it's not everybody that's hating it. It's about a half and half split.
Of course.
There's a lot of positivity and a lot of negativity.
Of course.
But it's very polarized.
I mean, there are... I don't know. We're from the
Yo, what up?
Bionicle community, obviously.
Yep.
We were a part of the community while Bionicle was active in Generation 1. Do you remember as much, like, spinning up of irritation and fear-mongering in the Bionicle community as Ninjago's had? Because I don't.
No. I don't either.
It's
The-
the Twitter nation, or
It's
like
the Twitter nation.
the-
It's a bunch of kids who are running rampant on social media with no like rules or sense of, common decency. BZP was a very structured place. People were jerks, but if you were too much of a jerk, you'd get banned. The other factor is that Bionicle didn't have as much upheaval as Ninjago has had in terms of it reinventing itself. It had story soft reboots, but the way it told the story, like once it picked up in 2003 with movies, comics, books, and those became like the pillars. People generally got used to it, I think, and then the movies went away. But it's not like they were replaced with an anime series; they just kind of went away.
Mm-hmm.
And then the story serials came out, but those were just more written content. Whereas Ninjago has had art style evolutions and character design evolutions, and the movie and the graphic
Right.
novels and anime episodes. So people People just don't react to change as well on a drastic scale, I think.
Even still, the best comparison I can make for Bionicle would be when the comics came out and they switched artists.
Yep.
So every so often they'd switch artists, but even then, I don't feel like there was this massive, like spun up. Like it is a super strong vitriolic reaction when folks.
There was not. People were not knocking down Randy Elliott's doors. You're right about that.
Yeah, right. And like they're not. People aren't upset by Randy Elliott. The one you'd expect most people to be super cheesed at is Stuart Sager, but he's honestly one of the more popular styles to the Bionicle franchise. At least I haven't polled, and that's a great poll. I'm gonna make this poll right now. But even like with all of that, dislike to things in the Bionicle community was far more gradual. It took time.
You're right.
It simmered. It was never as immediate as the Ninjago
literally
community.
just people hate change, and the reason why it balloons faster than Bonkle is because, like Haley said, social media.
Yeah. Everyone has their own voice now, so they it's more individualistic. They feel like their words mean more, so they say it.
Mm-hmm.
And being extreme means getting seen more.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. As far as I am concerned, I thought this episode was a blast. I welcome
Likewise.
the differences in. I like the shakeups. I think that it leads to the most amount of creative freedom. It leads to a lot of unique concepts. I'm really hoping they were serious about that sock puppet episode, because I want it. I want it.
Give it. I want them to do more
100%
stuff.
down.
Tommy, if you're still listening, please pass this along. Or I'm sure you're doing a feedback aggregate. Please do more episodes like this.
yes.
Not strictly speaking anime, although please do anime, but more
Mhm.
episodes like this,
sock puppets.
focusing on other characters.
Live action, please.
Okay, but then you have to cast actors for live action. Who would you? And then I have to ask, would you color them all Lego yellow?
Yellow face.
Yes!
No.
They all put on the little
Bad
minifigure
Haley.
masks they sell for
Bad
Halloween.
Haley. It's an
They're
actual
just a
thing.
little minifigure face.
Lego face.
There we go.
Lego
Wow.
face them.
Yeah.
You know, like the
so,
mask they sell for Halloween that they wore in that fold music video. They just wear that. the whole
I'd be
time.
down
yeah.
for that, honestly.
I will say, please
That's so
do more one-off episodes.
funny. Mhm.
And one day, if the budget allows, which it probably won't, but hypothetically, if it does, anthology season. Let's go. Let's just do a whole season of crazy stuff, one-off stories. Do it in between set waves if you have to. Make it short. Make like 8 episodes, but do it. Just go crazy. Because the one complaint I do understand is you're just watching the Ice chapter, and then all of a sudden this is intermixed.
Mm-hmm.
But I want a venue for this stuff to shine, so figure out the best way to make it happen. Don't get discouraged by angry people on Twitter. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. I also thoroughly enjoyed this episode as well, mostly just so I could see. I really like the mechanic as a character. It's weird because he doesn't really have much of a character. I really like the mechanic. And he was really good with Ultraviolet. I kind of wish Kilo was in there because we
Yeah,
talked
he got
to him
screwed
earlier,
over.
but he didn't get to join the escape party. And then Fuji Dove.
Let's be honest.
Fuji Dove. He's gonna rock and roll. I cannot wait to see what they're gonna do with Fuji Dove.
Yeah, Fuji Dove is funny. And honestly, Kilo wouldn't enough fit through the hole. I think it's fine that he wasn't a part of things.
That
Wow.
would just burst through
He
man.
wouldn't. He's too large.
LJ fat shaming.
No, muscles. He's muscly. Look at his arm. He is physically larger than every other character in that courtyard, Meso. It's an
muscle
observation.
shaming.
He's so muscly. He's like The Rock.
He wouldn't have fit through the hole. Leave him out.
Yes, live action Ninjago cast The Rock as Kilo.
I'm sure you have that budget.
All right, we got one more episode to go.
Okay, yeah, no.
Yeah, so that was anime's a win.
Got about 13 minutes.
Okay,
All
so
right.
we're going to go ahead and make this quick in that case. Last episode that we're going to be talking about today is episode 20, The Message. So, episode starts off And there's a brief recap of the fire chapter, courtesy of Cole. And they aren't sock puppets, but they are pictures on sticks. So he's telling them to the kids, freaking them out.
Picks on sticks.
Fair enough. So eventually, all the ninja go outside. Somebody comes up, says, "We found this," and it's a piece of green cloth from Lloyd. So they're all worried about him, but there's not a whole heck of a lot they're going to be able to do. So we cut to Lloyd. He's fine. He's hanging out with his wolf buddy. They're walking along. Things get spooky. And all of a sudden, boom, giant bird owl thing. And they're like, "Oh, crud, we gotta get out of here." Super action sequence, antics are ensuing. They're dodging around, just barely making it out in time. And they make it into some crevasse. They make it somewhere, some cave. They escape the bird thing. They're safe for the moment. Lo and behold, they find the super awesome cool mech. And it's actually fine. It has its arm. There's nothing really wrong with it, except for the fact that it doesn't work. It doesn't turn on. So Lloyd's investigating, trying to figure out what the heck has happened, and he finds a battery, along with what looks to be some sort of a TV. So he boots it up. Lo and behold, it is a message from Zane. Zane is saying he doesn't know how long he's been here. He doesn't know how much longer he has. To anyone that finds this, he hopes it's his buddies. Here's a message to them, message to Pixel. He explains who he is. The Zane death music starts playing. It's very somber, and it cuts out. So Lloyd is like, "Okay, I'm getting out of here." Cue a awesome construction montage. He's working on the mech, works it all out. Cut to outside. The bird's chilling. It's waiting for its snack. There must be easier snacks to get, but you know what? It's in the mood for some greens. When all of a sudden, boom, the mech just blasts out. Fight scene time. The bird's like, "I'm going to take you on." And Lloyd's like, "I'm going to take you on." And just smacks the crud out of the bird. It's so freaking cool. PETA protest number 3 coming in. And he just wrecks that bird's stuff all up. And then he's like, "You know what? I'm not going to hurt you anymore. I'm going to fire up my sick buzzsaw," in stores now. "I'm going to intimidate the heck out of you by cutting this rock." The bird's like, "Oh snap, he's got a rock-cutting buzzsaw. I ain't made of rocks, but even if I were, I'd be toast." It beats it. Lloyd is like, "All right, little doggy, let's go meet our friends, my friends. You're going to make new friends." And that's the end of the episode.
Ninjago is going to single-handedly bring back Bionicle.
Okay, no, it's
Just for
not.
that scene.
Bionic.
Just for that scene.
I always wanted to see Bionicle beat up Shima, and now I got to see it.
That mech animation was awesome.
It was so
I'm so
cool.
glad we got to see it, because the mech in episode 14 just kind of hops up and it's like,
And
"We're
falls.
cool," and then
Yeah.
immediately falls over, and now we get to actually see the mech
was really
move
cool.
around and do
Yeah.
some awesome fighting.
I made a choice to get the hidden side bus instead of that mech. And while the hidden side bus is awesome, for a brief minute, I did regret it.
Yeah.
Then I went back to liking the bus.
Okay.
Yeah. But dang, I'm excited to see this mech in the future.
Cool. So the biggest thing about this episode, there's a lot of good moments, a lot of comedy moments, but the biggest thing is Zane's message, which to me is just more evidence that he is the Ice Emperor, and that will be the last time we see Zane as we know him.
No, we won't. There's going to be another episode based off of what we see in the trailer.
I mean, maybe a flashback.
Yeah,
But the
flashback
last
episode.
time
We'll
the
see Zane
present
again, but
characters
for the
will
ninja.
see him as they knew him,
Mhm.
which I hope is what they do. Because here's what I'm gonna say, all right? And I'm just gonna I have to say it like this, because we gotta be honest. I'm gonna take them at their word. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt, even though I've been burned like 4 times. And I'm gonna say that I'm gonna do that only because I'm a proponent of this Zane as the Ice Emperor theory.
Mhm.
Knowing that, I'm going to accept that that is actually Zane's death message, because they even bothered to put in his death music, and they even bothered to put in flashbacks, and he said, "I love you" to Pixel, and it's all set up pretty conclusively. If that gets undone, and if he isn't actually dead, or if he comes back to the team, that will be yet another case of the March of the Oni Cole fall problem, which is emotional moments that immediately get undone. But if that doesn't happen, then that's cool. That was a very well done scene. It was very heartfelt, and it was a good send off to Zayn as a character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Honestly, right now
Yeah.
we're in this this gas state right now where
Mm-hmm.
it's in complete flux. You know,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
where we're not really. I'm not sure how to accept this scene because it's well done, but it can change on a dime. Because
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now, I'm not super on board for it because it feels like it's a retread of Zayn's death in Rebooted, which I'm awfully fond of. I thought that was a al dente scene.
I'll agree.
So with this, it feels a little bit like it's treading those waters again. However, if the status quo gets changed permanently from here on out, or at least for an entire season or two, I will accept this as possibly better than that.
Likewise.
Yeah.
It depends on how the stakes last. Because, of course, the twist, if this theory is right, will be he's not dead. He's alive. He's just not
Yeah.
Zayn anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, honestly, if they just give it like a season or two to bring Zayn back to the status fold, that's fine.
Well, here's the thing with that.
Hmm.
Zayn mentioned that in his message that he was going to try to upload his consciousness to the mech. And as long as the mech has power, it should keep that part of him alive. But that was the last message of Zayn in that form. My guess is that Ice Emperor is Zayn's body, but like inhabited by the scroll, and that they can save Zayn via the mech, like his conscience is up there. And here's the kicker: what if they put Zayn inside of Pixel, and Pixel becomes the new Master of Ice?
That would be a good paradigm shift. Or his ice elemental power is just lost forever because
Or yeah,
it's
and
in the
then he
body.
becomes, yeah.
The consciousness doesn't have the ice power, but the Zayn that we know can still like exist and be an AI
Yeah.
or whatever.
So Zayn, I think that line where he said that he was plugged in, and as long as something was connected, whatever he said, Zayn can probably still be saved in that area. The Ice Emperor is not Zayn.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be, I think, the scroll.
That'd be a cool twist if the scroll had like a sentient mind that just
Yeah.
kind of took Zayn over.
My guess is that Zayn plugged himself in and then kind of like sat in the mech, but like powered off. And then Vex found him, used the scroll to kind of like bring him back, like to like resurrect this guy, and then start following him around, or like kind of puppet.
Being a Harumi to his Garmadon.
Yeah, yeah, basically. So that's what I'm guessing is going to happen, because someone mentioned earlier in the chat, how the heck did the mech get into this cave? Well, maybe it's not a cave because the mech burst out of ice that looked like was formed to make a cave.
I don't necessarily know if I follow that because, as has been mentioned by Green Tornado in the Patreon chat, he didn't have the scroll in the message. Or at least he wasn't holding it. And obviously his hair wasn't all...
Yeah, he wasn't holding it. So when he plugged himself in, he wasn't holding on to it. So Vex came in, found the scroll, and then kind of like used the scroll to go back onto Zayn.
I think a simpler way of looking at things is to just remember that if the time dilation thing is real, if that is actually a thing, we don't know how much time passed between Zayn trying to fix the mech and uploading his consciousness, and then growing so desperate for a way to get back home, he uses the scroll again and becomes corrupted by it. We don't know how long the gap is between there. He could have been stuck there for like a year, and it's like, well, I may as well try the scroll, and then he loses himself to it.
Yeah.
We don't know yet. Anything's possible. But yes, he does not.
Assuming he is the Ice Emperor, he's been there for decades.
Yeah. Which, that is, again, my sincere hope is that they do not go back on what has happened. If it is Zayn, if the theory is accurate, I sincerely hope they do not go back on Zayn being the Ice Emperor and resolve it in this season. That is...
Braggy. I'm begging you, Braggy, don't do
That's all I can hope, because it's
I don't
decades.
think they will. Because the
I
ninja, they had the plot point where Sorla said you can't save your friend, and the ninja were like, no, we're going to try. We're stubborn. We're going to go and save him. And they were very adamant about them saving him. So it might bring that plot back, or they find out he's the Ice Emperor. So they try to save him, but they can't. And I want
Yeah,
to see that,
exactly.
because that's one thing we haven't seen the ninja do yet. As
Fail.
like for an emotional character arc, they can't save one of their ninja.
Well, they've failed before in doing things.
Yeah, they failed, but when it comes to like saving someone,
You're right.
Harumi.
Rip her.
huh,
Lloyd didn't
Full
succeed in
saved
saving
himself.
her.
well, a ninja, not a villain.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
It's all right. Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like it has to be true, the theory, or else it's going to be one of those cases. But I say I have to. I mean, I hope it is, because otherwise it's going to be a letdown, because we've all formed our presupposition that there's going to be a twist. If that twist doesn't actually come to pass, it's going to be disappointing. I really hope it does.
Well, at that point,
Because
that's
it'd be-
just on us.
Yeah, if the twist is real, though, like, this has the potential to be one of Ninjago's best seasons. If they actually do this thing with Zane.
yeah,
If the Ice Emperor is just like a straight bad guy with no deeper connection to anything,
or they
I hope
just
not.
they save Zane super fast. If he's Ice Emperor and they just save Zane just like it's no problem, then that too.
Boy, I hope not. So if things go as I'm hoping they'll go, season 11, man, it's gonna be
This
top.
is this. Oh yeah.
It's gonna be top.
Yeah. So, that's my hope. That is my plea.
Please, Braggy.
I am obviously along for the ride, so I'm quite
Mhm.
curious to see where things go.
Yep.
Yep. And Red the Wolf is awesome. Red the Wolf.
It's a wolf.
The animation on the wolf is
Red
so
Wolf.
good. I love the animation for this.
I don't know. It's a little.
It's very much a creature in the Cloud Kingdom kind of a scenario for me.
Yeah, I mean it's hard because it's based
It's
off of a
one step
minifigure they
away
have
from
to take a-
uncanny.
Yeah, but I just like it's very cool how like the legs move, and I like it. I'm enjoying it.
All right.
So, what else in this episode?
Well, I think we should go ahead and end.
Yeah, I
your-
think
your
that's it.
self-imposed limit.
Yes. Okay.
Wait! Oh my gosh, we forgot about the funniest joke. Oh
Really,
my
why?
gosh!
It's
Sorry,
gonna be the Cole thing, isn't
it's
it?
the Cole thing.
It's-
Oh my
boy.
gosh! First of all, Cole's an excellent voice actor. He did a really good Asphira
He's all right.
voice. No, he's great. LJ, you better watch out about Cole.
Yes.
The voice actor's a good voice actor.
I am definitely concerned that I might lose some voice acting roles to industry legend Kirby Morrow. Oh dear, whatever shall I do? I am
Oh my gosh!
panicking. He might be getting roles right
joke.
now.
The joke was that he told the story, and kids ran away screaming, and he came out and he was like, "What? It wasn't that bad." And Nia's like, "What'd you tell them?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I told them about Sphera like banishing Zane to another realm." And she's like, "That kind of is a little too much for kids." He's like, "Ages 5 through 13." I don't think so. It was one of those where I did not see it coming. Oh, it was so brilliant. I love little Ninjago moments like that where they're just breaking the fourth wall just so clearly.
I would love it more if
Love,
Lloyd's
love, love.
Titan mech wasn't 9 and above. Got him. Inaccurate, Cole.
No,
0 out of 10.
13.
Okay.
All right.
Meta jokes are the best. All right, I'm good.
That was
I
pretty
think-
funny. He might be getting roles right now.
I gotta act fast, everyone.
Yeah. You gotta no. This is your test, LJ. You gotta create a character, and then that character has to know how to voice act.
Is there a single Ninjago set that exists with an age range of like 5 as the minimum?
I think
I'm
that's
sorry,
like
I'm
a
critiquing
TV,
the show.
like the TV rating
Yeah.
is 5 through 13.
Yee.
That's just a suggestion.
All right.
Thank you.
Go ahead and end it. I'll...
Okay, so that's been it. Thank you all so very much for watching. Again, we must stress when the episodes are going to be on air, please watch them on air. again, might not matter much to Lego, so the theme would continue, but the show would end, at least on that network, because the network cares about the views. Because if it doesn't get the views, they're not going to host it. And we would all like Ninjago, the show, to continue going. So, again, we encourage you to watch that on air. We will let you know when we know they will be on TV. So even if you've already seen it, watch it again, please.
Please do.
So, hopefully you all enjoyed. Thank you very much for listening, be it live or the recorded version. Leave your thoughts on the episodes below, and actually let us know what you think about episode 19, whether you like the new animation style interspersed with the current one or not. Obviously, that's quite divisive. We here at TTV at NinjagoCast quite like it. There are many people that do not. Explain why. I'd like to hear more perspectives on that, but again, we're biased. So, alright, that'll be it. Thank you all so very much for listening. This has been NinjagoCast. The dojo is now closing. It has been a fun time. I am your sensei, LJ.
I am Messa.
And I'm Haley.
And now I actually got to talk this time. I wasn't muted. Once again,
Sweet.
this has been NinjagoCast. We are the masters of Podjitsu. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Don't go to any other dojos, though. Please stay to this one. We're begging you. We have to pay our rent.
Yes.
Alright.
Money.
Thank y'all for watching. The dojo is now closed.
Bye, everyone.